আমরা এটা লক্ষ্য করছি। সুতরাং প্রথম
With these few words, I conclude. Once again, I thank all of you.
I'd like to concentrate on a few aspects which I think continue to be very relevant, which are connected with that war. And the first point I think what must be recognized is the fact that end of the First World War was described universally. It was known as a war to end all future wars. That is how the end of the First World War was described. And you now today see, not only did we have the Second World War, but we have all these we have all these narrower dimensional wars that are still continuing, where the loss of life is much, much larger than the cumulative loss in World War I. In the First World War, 9 million combat people of all services of the armed forces died, and 7 million civilians. That was the human total. And what Professor Basu asked as to the estimate of how much it would have cost the First World War, I mean, that is something nobody really attempted. Maybe it will be a good idea to ask Joseph Stiglitz to do that and to see what is the comparison with the wars that are taking place today. But the first point we have to understand is the 20th century, with the ending of the First World War, was actually the beginning of a perpetual conflict. And this perpetual conflict of all the people who in fact anticipated the arrival of the First World War was Lenin, when he wrote his famous treatise, Imperialism, the highest stage of capitalism, where he said that the global developments in capitalism has reached a stage where its inter-imperialist rivalries have no other way of being resolved except through wars, which by the very nature of imperialism, taking capitalism as a global system, it will be a global war. What is now familiar, but at that time a very novel concept for the world, they require the drawing up of the world map into spheres of influence. That this is the German influence, this is the French influence, this is the English influence, and to draw up the world map through the spheres of influence, that contending rivalries between the various powers that had already embarked, but they were trying to consolidate the Industrial Revolution. These are the powers that came into conflict with each other to draw out the map. And that is why all the countries in southern Europe mainly have collapsed. The euro is in a crisis. Spain has a national debt of 175% of its GDP. Greece was virtually on that stage. So in order to now